Hello, welcome back to Kemet Masai Academy, and this is Back to School for Dummies. So today we're going to focus on English language, and we're going to start with parts of speech. So in case you're wondering what are parts of speech, maybe you've heard the term before and you've always wondered, what are parts of speech? What are they talking about, right? So if you can think of language as you can think of it as a building, right? And you can think of the different words as blocks that you put together to form sentences. Well, first of all, you put letters together. So those are like the cells at the cellular level. We put the letters together to form words, and then we put words together to make sentences, and we put sentence or phrases, and we put sentences together to make paragraphs, to make stories, to make novels, to make all manner of writing and speech. So the parts of speech are different categories of words that we can use to piece together to construct phrases, clauses, sentences, right? So in the English language, we have 8 parts of speech. And I'm actually going to be looking at each one separately in other videos. Today, I'm putting them all together in just one video, just kind of like a summary to run down the basics of each one. But they are not as simple as they seem, so each one really deserves its own video. And that's what we're going to be doing in the coming weeks. We're going to dedicate a video to each one of the parts of speech. This evening, we're grouping them together and we're just looking at them briefly, right? So I'm actually going to now share my screen so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, so here we have parts of speech. All right, so there's Dum Dum. He's not here beside me today, but there you have him on the screen, and he'll be introducing the different parts of speech for us, and then I'll just explain each one. So let me just check to ensure. Okay, so everything, hold on. Let me see the best. No, that's not the best one. Nope. Okay. All right, so we'll stick with that one. And the first part of speech we're going to start with are the nouns. Now, you might remember in elementary school the definition that you're given for nouns. And a noun is the name of a person, place, animal, or thing. Our elementary school students can recite that with their eyes closed, right? Nouns are persons, places, animals, or things. There are many different categories of nouns, actually, right? And we are going to be looking at them when we're covering the noun in its own video. For now, we're going to stick with that elementary school definition: person, place, animal, or thing. And well, in the English language, at least in the West, when we have proper nouns, actual names of people, names of books, titles, and so on, we capitalize the first letter. I don't think this is done in every culture, but we put a lot of emphasis on capitalizing our names, right? Even the name of your pets, you would start that name with a capital letter, right? So on this channel, our little friend is Dum Dum. So if you're writing Dum Dum's name, it will be starting with a capital D. So it doesn't matter if you think that the person or thing is insignificant, or even if it's not a living being, once it's the name of something, we capitalize the first letter. And if the name consists of more than one word, we would capitalize each word in the name. So on the screen, we have some nouns. So we have book, car, window, sun, person, thought. So somebody might say, well, how comes thought is a noun? Well, thought is a thing. It's an abstract noun. You can't see it, you can't touch it, but it is a thing, it's an entity. Same for memory, as you see on the board. So we have sister, memory, day, pharmacy, lion, hunger. Hunger is a thing. You can't touch hunger, you experience it. It's an entity, it's something, it's a noun. Calculator, zebra, suspicion. What is that, right? It's a feeling, it's a hunch. Again, it's abstract. So we are going to be looking at the different types of nouns. Some nouns, you can't see them, you can't touch them, but they are things. And then we have the word school. So all of these are actually nouns, right? They are things or people or animals or places, home, country, the name of the place, Kingston, right? America, Caribbean Sea, all of those are nouns. So now we go to the pronouns. Pronouns. And if you look at the roots of the word pronoun, you'll see the prefix pro. Usually the prefix pro indicates for or instead of. So pronouns actually are used instead of nouns. They take the place of nouns. So if you look at the screen, you see these are all pronouns. Me, you, ours, theirs, myself, us, we, yours, themselves, mine, I, they, him, her, hers. Similar to the noun, the pronoun, there are different types of pronouns, right? There are subject pronouns, object pronouns, possessive pronouns, reflexive. So these are things that we're going to break down when we're doing the video just on pronouns. So today we're just looking at them generally, right? So instead of writing a string of nouns, you can replace them with one simple pronoun. So instead of saying, I am going to the supermarket with Marcus, Rebecca, Pansy, Jacob, and a string of other names, you can say, I am going to the supermarket with them, or they are going to the supermarket with me. You can use they or them to replace a string of names of persons. Likewise with us, we. If 5 of you are doing something, instead of writing out the 5 names, you can just say we are doing the thing. So pronouns help you to limit the space that you take up in your writing. it helps you to eliminate repetition. So you might start off maybe the first sentence or two with actually listing out the names of the persons who you're referring to. But every sentence, you don't have to keep listing out their names. You can just say we, us, them, they, right? And without having to list the names all the time. So we use pronouns to take the place of nouns or instead of nouns. And like I said, there are different types of pronouns. With all these, well, almost all of the parts of speech, you are going to find that there are different categories. A lot of people think of English as being a difficult language, and really it is. If English is not one of the languages that you naturally speak, right? So you're learning it as a second or third language, it can be difficult. The rules don't necessarily make sense sometimes. And there are many categories of words that you have to memorize, you have to learn the rules, and the rules don't always comply with themselves, right? So there are many exceptions to the rules. It is a difficult language, but it also happens to be, as it's called, the universal language. And it's one of those languages that if you master it, then it puts you in good stead wherever in the world you find yourself. If you can communicate well in English, if you can express yourself in writing or in speech in English, that is a bonus for you. So even though it is difficult, with diligence and patience, you can master it. And if you have your native language or a first language, then you should be able to switch just like that from one to the next and manage yourself and be articulate in both of them. I pride myself in that. I am Jamaican and I love my Jamaican language, and there are some things you just cannot express in English as well as you can do it in your native language. All right, so now we are looking at verbs. And if we go back to elementary school, right, or basic school or primary school, the definition that you remember for verbs is verbs are doing words. As simple as that. Verbs are doing words. Verbs are action words. They show action. There are some verbs that they might trick you because they don't really show much action, but they are actions. And you'll see some of them on here. So let's look at the verbs that we have here. So we have come, carry, dream, tell, listen, help, wonder, call, run, exercise, think, maneuver, dig, be, live, die, hallucinate, imagine. Can you see any of the verbs here that you would say, but why is that a verb? When you're looking at this list of words, are there any words coming out at you and you're wondering, I don't think that word should be on the list. That's not really an action. If so, just type in the comments and let me know which of those words you think does not belong up here. I know for some persons, they might pick out wonder, dream, hallucinate, imagine. These are things that we do with our minds. They don't really show, because when a lot of people think of verbs, they think of things you do with your hands or your feet, or there is movement that you can see. But no, there are some verbs that are very subtle. Look at the word be, the verb to be. A lot of people take this verb for granted and they don't understand that it is a verb. When we conjugate the verb to be, so the forms that it would take would be I am, she is or he is, they are, we are, you are. In the present tense, those would be the conjugations for the verb to be. And when we do the video on verbs, we will be looking at the different ways that we conjugate the verb depending on who is doing the action. So in most languages, the verb will take a different form depending on who is doing the action. So it's the same thing with English. Depending on who is doing the action, the verb will be different, right? Also, depending on the tense of the verb. So depending on when the action is taking place, the verb will also take a different form. So if it's happening right now in the present tense, you'll have a different form for the verb, as opposed to if it's happening if it happened in the past, or it will happen in the future, and then there are even intermediates in between, right? Present continuous, past continuous, and all of that nice stuff, right? So we will break down the verbs when we get to that video. But just know that even though you remember your teacher telling you verbs are action words, doing words, there are some verbs that are gentler, they are more subtle, and you can't necessarily see them, but they are actions, right? Remember, think, conjure, those are verbs. All right, so just remember to include those when you think about your action words. All right, so that's 3 out of 8 so far. So we did the noun, the pronoun, the verb, and now we're going to look at adverbs. All right, so there's a similarity, right? When we did the noun, and then we realized that the pronoun kind of goes with the noun. And we said the pronoun takes the place of the noun. Here we have verb, and now we're having adverb. So they two have something in common. The adverb modifies the verb. What do we mean by that? It modifies the verb. The adverb is a word that gives you more information about the verb. It tells you how the verb is being done. Most adverbs tell how the verb is being done. And for those ones, most of them will end with ly. No, not every word that ends with ly is an adverb, but most adverbs end with ly, and they tell you how something is done. But we also have some special adverbs, adverbs of place, adverbs of time, adverbs of condition. And like I keep saying, we're going to dedicate a video just to adverbs so that we can break it down and look at the different types of adverbs. So words like yesterday, today, those are adverbs of time. They tell when a verb is done, when an action is done. Words like here and there, they tell where the action is done, right? So those are special adverbs that a lot of people don't include when they talk about adverbs, because generally people tend to think, okay, adverbs end with ly. So here are some of them. Eagerly, so you do something eagerly. Brightly, loudly, as we said, yesterday is an adverb. Now, here, there, always, never, wonderfully, calmly, today, energetically, seldom, and so on. Those are adverbs. One of the things I want you to take note of, though, when we talk about parts of speech, there are some words that can be nouns, they can be verbs, they can be adjectives, they can be more than one part of speech. The clincher is, what is the word doing in that particular sentence, right? What is the word doing in that particular sentence? So, for example, if I use the word bank, if I say bank, and I ask you, what part of speech is bank? Well, most persons would say it's a noun because it's a place, right? And most times, bank is a noun. However, I can use bank as a verb. I can even use bank as an adjective. It all depends on the job that it's doing in the sentence. So if I say, today I will go to the bank and lodge some money. Right? Today I will go to the bank and lodge some money. Clearly, that bank is a noun. It's the place. I'm going to that place, right? But if I say, I use the Bank of Nova Scotia, or let me not use that. I use the ATM to bank my money. In that sense, that's an action. You're lodging the money, you're banking it. Right? That's an action. Or I want to bank my money because I'm saving towards something. That bank is not a noun. That bank is a verb. It's an action. You're banking it. And if I say, can you pass my bank book? Can you pass my bank book? What part of speech is that bank? That bank is actually describing the kind of book. It's a bank book. The job that that bank is doing in the sentence is actually an adjective. It's describing the type of book, right? So there are words that take different forms, right? So if I say, the men were standing in a row, the men were standing in a row. What part of speech is row in that sentence? Is it a thing? Is it an action? What is it? They were standing in a row. Usually, when a word comes immediately after a or the, almost always it's a noun. So they were standing in a row. That's a thing. That's a line. They were in a line, in a row. So row in that sentence is a noun. But if I say, the men want the paddle to row the boat. The men want the paddle to row the boat. That row is an action. Right? That row is an action. You're rowing the boat. And if I just say, we are going on a rowboat. We are going on a rowboat. That row is describing the type of boat. So that row is an adjective. So even though I'm telling you, I'm showing you some words and I'm saying, okay, these are nouns, these are verbs, these are pronouns, just bear in mind that this could change on you, right? This could change if the word is being used in that particular sentence. So you have to look at the context of the sentence, how the word is being used in order to determine the part of speech for some words. Yes, you have some that they're always that part of speech, right? But just bear that in mind. So now we go on to the adjective. All right. In elementary school, we were told the adjective is a describing word. It describes, it gives you information about the noun or the pronoun. It tells you the color, it tells you the size, it tells you the shape, it tells you the texture, how it feels, it tells you the taste, it tells you the smell, all of these things. The adjective describes. So here are some adjectives: beautiful, outrageous, easy, helpful, energetic, spontaneous, hungry, shy, bitter, friendly, hostile, ambitious, acceptable. All of these words describe something. They give you information about how the thing looks, how it sounds, how it feels. And you may notice that there are words that they have the root, and then you adjust the root and add a prefix or add a suffix at the end to change the form of the word, right? So for example, beautiful. So beautiful is an adjective. Something is beautiful. I can take that word and change it to a verb. Beautify. That's the action. I want to beautify the house. I want to beautify my classroom. That's the verb. And if I want to give you the noun, then I would say beauty. Beauty is the noun, the thing. Beauty is something that we all seek, right? So again, words can change. We can just keep the root and change different parts of the word to transform it to the different parts of speech, right? So look at the word friendly. Friendly is an adjective. You're describing someone as being friendly. What noun can we form from friendly? Well, the noun would be friend. That's a person. What verb can we form from friendly? I can say befriend. I want to befriend the person. That's an action. I want to do something to make this person my friend. I want to befriend. So just by adding the prefix be in front of it, I make it into a verb. Or if I start with friend and I add ly, friendly, then it becomes an adjective. And this is one of the examples of a word that ends with ly that's not an adverb. Remember, we're saying most adverbs end with ly, but not all words that end with ly are adverbs. So friendly is one of them. Friendly is actually an adjective that describes someone. Next on our list, so this is the six out of 8 now, is our conjunction. Conjunction. So conjunctions join. They join words, they join phrases, they join even two sentences to make them one. So I can have two separate sentences that could stand on their own, and I can take a conjunction and remove the full stop and join the two sentences. So I can say, I want to go to the market. That's one sentence. I want to go to the zoo. That's another sentence. I can join them. I can say, I want to go to the market and I want to go to the zoo. Or I want to go to the market, but I want to go to the zoo, right? Or any of these conjunctions here, we can mean that you want to get get. So conjunctions are join words, they join phrases, they join sentences. So these are words like and, but, or, if, yet, though, for, nor, lest, even, although, as if, because, no, whenever. And this now is different from no that we had for adverb, right? So this now is like you're saying, no, I want to do this or whatever, right? So it's a different form. Supposing, though, until, and we have many, many more. And just like with the others, there are different types of conjunctions. All right, so we have 2 parts of speech to go. Each one deserves a video of its own. And so we're definitely going to do that, right? Because we have to break them down and look at the different types of each one. So here now we have preposition. Preposition. And there's a hint in the word. The hint is position. Prepositions tell the position of one thing in relation to another thing. Where are you in relation to something else? Where is this thing in relation to another thing? Is it beside it? Is it under it? Does it go through it? Is it beneath it? Above it? Below? Underneath? Around? In? Across? Or across from? Atop? Between? Next to? In front of? Behind? So all of these show the relationship between things, right? Where is this thing in relation to this other thing? Those are prepositions. And finally, interjections. So the part of speech, interjection. The interjection is usually one single word, and often you're going to see the interjection with an exclamation sign, because the interjection is an expression, right, that shows a lot of emotion. It can be great joy, great anger, great surprise, or frustration, or just you just want to express, right? So meh, or 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 wow, gosh, geez, oh, hey, uh-oh, or my, oh dear, gee whiz. And even these interjections, LOL, WTF, you know what those mean. Ouch, or thanks, or oops. These are expressions that show great emotion. Sometimes the interjection can be followed if you're not shouting. So for example, here we have oh dear, oh with the comma, then oh dear, like you're sighing. Somebody tells you something and you say, oh my, oh dear. But usually the interjection, you're shouting, right? Wow, gosh, oh my goodness. Even if you say good morning, that's an interjection, right? Or wagwan, that's an interjection. So the 8 parts of speech, they pretty much cover all the different words that you're going to be using in the English language, right? And each one will have its different categories as well. So, like I said, I'm going to dedicate a video to each one because you'd be surprised at how many different types of, for example, the noun. There are so many different types of nouns, right? When you think of the verb, you have the tenses of verbs, you have the different conjugations depending on who is doing the action. We have so many types of pronouns. You're going to be surprised when we start breaking them. Even at first, it might seem tedious, and you're saying, oh my God. For some of you, you might actually, you're already speaking the language. You're already using the language, right? You just need to know now the theory behind the language. But you've already been using the language. So once you start and you're diligent in it, you're going to find that it's going to become easier and easier to realize, oh, for granted. So you know it, but you didn't realize, certain things, or you just took it for granted. But now you're learning the theory behind it, the rules behind it. You're learning the exceptions to the rules. The most important thing, though, in terms of part of speech that you need to bear in mind is that part of speech can change, and you really need to look for is what is the function of the word in that particular sentence. Just like the two examples that I gave you with row and bank, right? You really have to look. You really have to look. Even the word mother, right? Mother. If I ask you what part of speech is mother, most persons will say, well, it's a noun. It's a person. Duh. What else could it be? But suppose, all right, so if I say, well, my mother is waiting for me in the hall. Yeah, that's the person. My mother, the person, is waiting for me in the hall. But suppose I say, I mother my students every day. I mother my students every day. Is that a person? No. That's an action. I do things my students that show tenderness, that show guidance, that show love. I'm mothering them. That's an action. Mother can be a verb. If I say, don't trouble the cubs, or mother bear will come for you. Don't trouble the cubs, or mother bear will come for you. That mother, what role is that word mother playing in that sentence? Mother bear. That's an adjective. It's telling you what kind of bear it is. So it's very important for you to have an open mind when it comes to part of speech. You can learn the function, what a part of speech does, so that you can identify in this particular scenario, in this particular sentence, what is the word doing. And you can have a general idea that, okay, most times this word is that part of speech, most times. But just have an open mind and remember that it can change depending on how it is used. That's the most important thing I want you to take from this video, this introductory video to part of speech. That is the most important thing. Because if you go away thinking, all right, noun is person, place, animal, thing, and you tend to think of mother always as a person, you might encounter the word mother in any of those other sentences I just outlined, and say it down in those, you would get that. You would leave the examination room or the test room, you would leave with a smile on your face thinking that yes, you got it. And when you get back your paper and you see it wrong, you're going to be saying, but how? Mother is a person. How can I get this wrong? But if I am mothering my students, I'm doing an action towards them, right? That's a verb. So be very careful when it comes to parts of speech. So next week, we're going to be doing mathematics, right? So we alternate. One week we do English language. The next week we do mathematics. So come with your books, and we're going to be looking at the different that use mathematics, because it makes no sense doing without knowing going sign, the minus sign, the equal sign, the equivalent sign, the square root sign. What are they? What do they mean? What am I to do when I see these signs? That's what we're going to be doing for mathematics class next week, right? So until then, take care of yourselves, and thank you for joining me. And please revise. Take a little time each day and do some revision. Do your own research, add to your knowledge, and I want you to commit yourself that you're going to be steadfast. In my introductory video, I outlined the fact that most adults who start remedial classes, they give up after a while. They just don't have the stick to itness, right? They don't have that dedication to continue for whatever reason. But I want you to commit yourself to keep at it for your own education, for your own progress, right? We're all learners for life, we're learners of life. So I will see you next week with your books and your pencils. So take care.